Titanfall 2 has been out in the wild for over a year now. The reviews are in, and it's been critically acclaimed, but accusations of dead servers run deep. Is this game still worth your money this late after launch? Let's find out. Over the past few months, I've seen a handful of sales putting this game at the $15 price point and one or two going down as low as $10 USD. At that $15 price point, you're getting a AAA shooter for 75% off, and obviously even more of a discount at that $10 price point. All mechanical DLC is free, meaning that you've got all extra maps, modes, weapons, and titans for no additional cost. The game does feature microtransactions for weapon skins and even some premium titan remodels, but none of those affect gameplay or overall game balance. They're purely cosmetic, and honestly are a bit overpriced for what you get in a lot of instances, but honestly, if you're buying this game this late in its lifespan, I'm not sure that this is even a factor for you anyways. I doubt that you would even bother buying any of these skins anyways. Moving on, Titanfall 2 has three main ways to play: a single-player campaign, competitive multiplayer, and a co-op horde-style mode called Frontier Defense. Let's start off with the single-player. The campaign will probably give you a good 6 to 8 hours worth of gameplay, maybe 10, if you really take your time or struggle a lot with the movement. It's rife with your typical mow down hundreds of dumb AI like most single-player campaigns, but it's got a few really great upsides. For starters, there's two missions in particular that are so unique, so fresh to the genre, that they're big contenders with Call of Duty 4's All Gillied Up mission as being just some of the best missions in any FPS to date. This is no surprise, coming from a huge chunk of the team that originally made that mission, and these two missions are definitely enough to make that $10 price point worth it on its own. The rest of the campaign is good enough, not exactly committing any sins or transgressions, but not taking anywhere near the number of risks that it could have either. It's a very safe campaign. It'll challenge you in ways that no FPS campaign has ever challenged you before, placing you in situations and forcing you to solve puzzles that make you feel more like you're playing Portal than an actual shooter, and that's a compliment. But at other points in time, it'll feel like you're playing Call of Duty 9000, so your mileage will vary a bit from section to section of the campaign, but the highs are so good that the lows really aren't even lows. They're just okays, they're fines, they're not bads by any means. While I wouldn't call this campaign a monumental achievement or anything like that, it is absolutely one of the best single-player campaigns in an FPS that I've ever played, and I do honestly think that it's worth it just for that $10 price point alone. If there was no Frontier Defense, if there was no multiplayer, if you were only playing this game for the base mechanics, that movement system that exists in this game, that crispy, clean wall running and all that stuff that comes along with it, if you're only playing it for that and the single-player story, then yeah, it's worth it. It's totally fine at that price point. The co-op horde mode, Frontier Defense, is a returning feature from the first installment, albeit with a shift in focus from the first game. Previously, all maps were available for play in Frontier Defense, and the enemies you face were all tailored to that particular map to give it a particular amount of difficulty. In Titanfall 2, this base idea remains the same, however you're no longer allowed to play this mode on every single map in the game. You're limited to a smaller subsection of maps, mostly due to the fact that Frontier Defense was added very late after the game's initial launch. Respawn could only dedicate a handful of people to continue updating the game post-launch, and there's a limit to how much they could accomplish in the time that they had. Still, Frontier Defense this time around received a more focused and pointed set of features, with the inclusion of a money system allowing you and your friends to purchase defenses or buffs for your characters, promoting divergent strategies on each map that you play. The mode is overall fun, and has a hardwired replayability mechanic in the form of Aegis ranks. These ranks will power up your Titans with special bonuses available only in Frontier Defense, and are a hard requirement to making your Titan strong enough to survive in high difficulty settings. When playing this mode, you have to be prepared for two specific things though. One, you have to be prepared to be effectively living in your Titan throughout the duration of this game mode after wave number 1. You're not going to have a whole lot of time or reason to ever be a pilot unless your Titan is killed in action. Otherwise, you're going to be in that pilot pretty much 100% of the time. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that every time you want to switch Titans, you have to repeat the leveling up process for every Titan separately. So if you get your Legion to Aegis rank 20, every other Titan that you own is still Aegis rank 1, and therefore is not able to compete in hard or very hard difficulty levels. They must only be played in easy or medium difficulties, maybe hard difficulty if you have teams with those Aegis upgrades that can kind of carry you and pick up your slack. So there's always going to be that issue of having to grind and regrind every single Titan. Now, the way that you feel about this is going to vary a lot depending on what kind of a game player that you are. If you're the kind of person who wants to get into the game and have everything available to you from the get-go and have it be 100% based upon skill, positioning, map knowledge, whatever the case may be, anything like that, then you're going to be a little disappointed with this mode. However, if you're the kind of person who likes to see their character grow and build over time, and you like to get upgrades for them and make them more powerful, and you like that power fantasy of increasing in strength and getting to harder and harder difficulty levels as you grow with your Titan, with your character, then yes, this game mode is fantastic, has incredible replayability, and will be populated for long amounts of time to come. In Titanfall 1, when you have Frontier Defense, even though that game has very, very few players anymore, at least on PC, it's still very easy to find matches in Frontier Defense because you only need 4 people. There's no competition there. A lot of people always just want to get on the game. They want to experience what it has to offer. They want to get into the lore of it. They want to get into that Titan seat and just feel cool being a pilot and murdering a bunch of evil, bad IMC people. And that's fine. But you have to just understand what kind of a gamer you are and what appeals to you. For me personally, I don't really care for Frontier Defense because I'm the kind of person who likes to have everything given to them from the get-go and have it be 100% based upon skill. This is not to say Frontier Defense is a bad mode or poorly made or anything like that. That is very far from the truth. It's a great mode. It's great fun. It's made very well, but it depends on you whether or not it's something that is going to be enjoyable to you. If this sounds cool to you, if this sounds interesting to you, this game mode alone is worth a $10 or even $15 price point with the amount of content that's in it, in my opinion. I wouldn't pay a whole lot more than that if you had no interest in single player or multiplayer and only Frontier Defense, but there it is. There's that whole bit. And one additional point about this before we move on to multiplayer is that I want you guys to think about how many games have come out in the last 5 to 10 years in which you can play a co-op mode with multiple friends with giant robots in which you're defending an area against waves and waves of enemy units, be them infantry or flying units or Titans, robots themselves, whatever the case may be. How many games can you think of in the past 10 years that allow you to have this particular experience, and one that allows you to customize the way your defenses work, and you have this money system and all this? Like, what games even come close to giving you this experience of a defense kind of mode like this? You have horde mode, but you don't have giant freaking robots in horde mode. You have like tower defense games like you might find on PopCap or something, but that is not exactly the same experience either. This is a very pointed experience. It's a very niche experience that you cannot really get anywhere else. So that uniqueness factor alone is a huge positive and a huge boon for Titanfall 2 in making it potentially worth your money to give it a try, because it's unique. You're not going to get this experience elsewhere. You can't buy another game that may or may not be better to get this experience because it simply doesn't exist. This combination of mechanics has never been found in another shooter and may not be found in another shooter ever again. So give it a try while you can. Moving on to competitive multiplayer, this is where things get really interesting. Your ability to move at mind-bending speeds and control maps through mobility is unparalleled, at least on PC. On consoles, where controllers reign supreme, the game plays completely differently. It's more like a glorified Call of Duty with double jumps and mechs, thanks to incredibly strong aim assist and snap to target on aiming down sights. For you, this may be a good thing, or it may be a bad thing. On the plus side, you can go really fast and get that old school FPS feeling of approaching an impossibly high skill ceiling by learning the underlying game mechanics powering the movement. On the other hand, Abusing these styles of movement is shut down completely on consoles by anyone using a carbine or G2 semi-auto rifle that can plink you out of the sky with absurd levels of consistency. Not to mention the boosts, one of which is basically a perk like stopping power from Call of Duty 4, which makes your guns kill in one bullet faster in most cases, and it's absolutely nutty how easy it is to die when trying to abuse what makes Titanfall, the movement system. When trying to use it, you get murdered, at least on consoles. As I hope you're getting from this so far, there's a stark contrast here, where PC is ruled by grappling hooks and other speed-boosting mechanics, while console play is ruled by slow, rooftop camping and pixel peeking while using one-way transparent walls, which boost the shooter's damage while preventing any damage from going through the wall back to the shooter. It's a very one-dimensional sort of game, according to a lot of console players out there. Now, I'm a PC gamer. I don't play this game on console. I cannot speak for all of this from experience myself. I'm purely basing this console-sided opinion on what I've heard from the community. And as someone who has thousands of hours of Titanfall, has played against a lot of controllers at both the casual and competitive level in tournaments, and who just simply interacts with a lot of the community a lot of the time. Like, look at my subscriber count here on YouTube. I am one of the bigger Titanfall 2 YouTubers. I talk to console players constantly about this game, and this is the aggregate of the opinions that I have heard from them, is that AWOL is stupid, Cloak is stupid, pixel peeking in the G2 and the Carbine is stupid. It makes Titanfall not feel like Titanfall, and is something that you need to be aware of before you buy the game on console if you're buying it purely for multiplayer. Now, I do want to make it very clear here that this is not necessarily meant to be a negative aspect of the game. It's more so that you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. You have to understand what is going to happen, whether you're a console player or a PC player, and how you're going to have to interact with the game. You have to understand what you're getting yourself into. For a lot of people playing that slower rooftop campy style where you get on a rooftop, it's basically your island. You kill a couple people, you push up to the next rooftop, and you make a little bit of progress towards their base, and you rinse and repeat, and you try to win gunfight after gunfight after gunfight until you make it to their base. You can pull a flag and capture it, you can capture an objective, whatever the case may be. That style of gameplay has merit. There's a lot you can do there to outthink, outmaneuver, outplay, outskill your opponents, and that's all well and good. It's not necessarily a bad thing about the game, but you just have to understand that that power fantasy, that movement fantasy, may be less possible than you think on a controller because, well, of aim assist, of course, but also because it's just more difficult to do on a controller. Now, you have guys like GameSager, you have guys like Iniquity out there who can abuse those mechanics very, very well, and they look no different than a PC player in most aspects. But you got to keep in mind, it's just simply harder to input. It is harder to do from a mechanical level. So keep it in mind. If you're willing to put the work in, you'll do really, really freaking well on a console. You'll do really well running circles around people, but you have to learn those fundamentals which are very specific to Titanfall, and you may get killed a lot trying to learn them, much like you're playing an arena shooter like Quake. You just may get absolutely destroyed by the veterans before you kind of get your feet wet, and keep it in mind. It may be a limiting factor for you. It may be a nice challenge for you. You have to understand what kind of a player you are before making this purchase. So let's say that you're going to go ahead and give the game a try, and you're willing to work with this, you're willing to learn and become a better FPS player in general by trying out these new mechanics that you've probably not experienced in any shooter before. You're going to be met with a wide gamut of game modes alongside featured modes every single week, which offer you bonus experience. In your multiplayer menu, you're going to find the ability to create your own special mixtape for your matchmaking queue, which basically allows you to queue for multiple game modes all at the same time in order to find games faster. Do you like Capture the Flag, Last Titan Standing, and Attrition, but don't want to play anything else? In Titanfall 2, you don't have to make a guess on where the population is and chase them to get games like you did in Titanfall 1. Now you can simply search all three of them simultaneously, and you'll get put into the first match that pops up for any of them. This is a great band-aid that allows players to always have a chance to play the game modes that they want, even as Titanfall 2 sunsets in the next year, and player counts drop into dead game levels. Titanfall 2 definitely has not reached that point yet, even on PC, but I can't predict when that time might come. With DLC support having officially ended for the game, at least in terms of maps and guns, titans, the stuff that really matters, Titanfall 2 still provides an experience unlike any other game in each of its 3 main modes of play. You can't experience fast movement like this alongside the crispy Titan mechanics in any other game. Full stop. Titanfall 2 is a gem of a unique title, and for $15 or less, you'd be doing yourself a disservice to not at least try it out. Just think of it this way. You can go see a primetime movie, like say for example Star Wars, for $15, and it'll last you maybe 2 hours or so, maybe some discussion time later with your friends, maybe you'll go on the internet and read about it a little bit more, and that's it, you're done. Titanfall 2 is going to offer you many orders of magnitude more gameplay time than that, and experiencing all that there is to experience, you're going to have a lot of fun doing everything this game has to offer you. You're going to experience something brand new that could have been even more unique than it was, but ended up playing it just a little too safe in the end. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope that this video has been informative for you. If you have any questions about Titanfall 2, about whether or not you should get it and whether or not it's worth it for you, please leave me a question in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to help you out as soon as I can. If you want to see more videos like this from me, please consider supporting me over on Patreon. Every little bit helps to get me closer to making YouTube and Twitch a full-time job, and we're already a really good chunk of the way there. So anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.